Hi, today you'll be learning how to use your mind in a fun and interesting way to remember large amounts of information. Your mind is capable of retaining seemingly infinite amounts of information, and yet recalling the information sometimes seems impossible. On this course, over the next few videos, I'll be giving you some interesting techniques that the more fun you have with them, the easier it'll be to install these techniques and remember things. Now, all these techniques that I'm going to teach, I've learned myself. They're not my techniques. And I've learned them all from Dominic O'Brien, who's an 8 times world memory champion. So no doubt these are some of the best techniques you'll ever find. And if you want to look deeper into them or get a better understanding of these techniques, you can find them in the book, Quantum Memory Power. It's available on Audible, and I'm sure it's in many bookstores as well. And he also works as a trainer for peak performance training. So you can find him at peakperformancetraining.org. If you're interested in any of his work, I recommend that you go and train with him. He's absolutely excellent. Now, as children, we knew how to have fun and use our imaginations to create an alternative reality kind of thing. I mean, did you ever pretend as a child? I used to play with my friends. I'd play army, and I'd find a stick to use as a gun, and I'd be running around. First 5 minutes, I knew it was a stick. But after that, because of my imagination, it would be my gun, to the point where I'd probably even take it home with me and use it again the next time I was playing out. And for any of you ladies out there that have not pretended and played army, maybe you've played with dolls. Did you ever sort of imagine that they were real babies? I know that my daughter, when she's playing with her dolls, I only have to pick one up in the wrong way and she's in tears because I've hurt it. Now, this is how absorbed we need to be in this process today. So just imagine you're playing as a child, and it'll make it a whole experience a lot more fun and easier to remember. I mean, when you look back to your childhood, you can remember some of the good games you used to play a lot better than some of the boring lessons at school. When you want to remember anything that you learn, then you must review it. Reviewing the things you want to learn at least 5 times can install that information for many years and maybe even for the rest of your life. So I suggest that you review them 5 times. Firstly, immediately. As soon as you've learned something, go back over it straight away to make sure that everything's in your mind. Then 1 day later, 1 week later, 1 month later, and then 3 to 6 months later. That's the only times you need to review it, and that should install it forever. Right, first, before we get started on any techniques, let's have a little exercise to see where you're actually at the moment with your memory recall. So that you have a starting point, and it'll give you a sort of a baseline. You'll know how much you've progressed and how much you've improved in such a short space of time. Simply even by the end of this one lesson, you will have improved, right? So I'm going to give you a list of 10 things. Just see how many you can get. It's not important how you remember, and no one is going to be asked how many they got. You don't have to put a comment on how many you got. So just be honest with yourself. Make a note of what you're capable of. I don't want you to write down any of this list as I say them. I just want you to be able to try and recall them and just write down how you did so that you can compare it for later. So here's the list. Don't write anything down, like I say, just see how many you can remember. Right, so you've got sand, flashlight or torch, bathtub, football, gnome, rope, playing card, lion, river, and an archery target. Okay, have you got that? So here they are again. See how many you got and try to recall them before I say each one. Sand, torch or flashlight, bathtub, football, gnome, rope, playing card, lion, river, and archery target. So if you have a good recall, then you may have remembered 6 to 8, and that's fantastic. But were they in the correct order? Some of you may only have remembered the first few or the last few. You know, just make a note of where you're at this moment, how many you actually recalled. Because in a moment, you're going to be able to recall every single one of them. And the key ingredient to having a good memory is association, location, and imagination. And to remember this, think of Muhammad Ali, you know. And there's an image in your head that you won't get rid of. So that'll help you remember Muhammad Ali. So it's A-L-I. So the A is for association. Now let's think about association. If I say key, you think of a door. Skiing, you might think of snow or skis. And if I say snowman, you might think of Christmas and so on. And this is how we associate things. The other thing about association, that everything is connected to something else. We associate something not by its dictionary definition, but what we associate it with. I mean, if I say cycle, for instance, you wouldn't think, ah, yes, a bicycle, form of transport with 2 wheels and driven by pedals. No, you'd see a bike in your head. You know, what sort of bike? I don't know. It's your mind. So, you know, it might be a child's bike, or it might be one that you ride at the moment, you know, or one that you've from your own childhood that you've had good times on. You know, we're all different, and we all imagine things and associate things differently. And this is the thing about association. It's all unique to every person. So you have to make your own associations with things. Now, for the first exercise, I'm going to give you 3 pairs of objects and just see if you can make an association to link them together. So if I say kangaroo and masterpiece, you might think of a kangaroo painting a masterpiece, or you might think of a masterpiece of a kangaroo. Whatever link you make, it doesn't matter, you know, as long as it works for you. So here are the 3 pairs of objects: bicycle and hamster, balloon and submarine, palm tree and chocolate. So now if I say hamster, what do you think? Answer: bicycle. If I say balloon, you think of, that's right, a submarine. And if I say palm tree, then you think of chocolate. Simple. Although there isn't a direct connection between the 2 objects, it's quite easy to make an artificial connection. So from now on, make associations between things, and you'll find that the more that you do, you know, with the everyday things, the more the mind will loosen up. The L in Ali is for location. Now, this is your mental map of the world. We use this in everyday life without realizing it. If I were to ask you what you did yesterday, the first thing you would do is work out where you were, so that you could go through the events of the day. And if you wanted to go through them in order, you know, you would firstly recall the places that you wanted to be, or the places you went, sorry. If I were to ask you what you did last week, then you'd have to search a little bit harder. But the first thing you do is work out all the places you were on that day last week to access all the stored memories of that day. We can't disassociate our past from locations. And this is going to be the key to keeping the order of what we want to remember. The I is for imagination. And this is possibly the most important ingredient. Now we're going to use our imagination to create a story in our mind. It's easier to remember a story than to remember inanimate objects. So again, without writing anything down, just use your imagination as I run through this story. If it helps you to imagine, close your eyes. I'm going to return to the previous 10 items, that you tried to remember earlier. And this time, I really want you to use your imagination. You will recall all 10. So, in your mind, imagine that you were walking along a beach with bare feet. And as you walk along the beach, you can feel the warm sand. The first item is sand. You can feel that sand between your toes. And not too far in front of you, you notice a beam of light shining out of the sand as you walk over. You see the second item. It's a flashlight or torch pointing into the air. Now you pick up the flashlight and shine it into the distance. And in the distance, you could see a white object. And as the light shines off it, you can see that the white object is a bathtub. And as you get closer, you can see inside the bathtub is a brightly coloured football. Now you take that football and you kick it as hard and as far as you can. And as it comes down, you see that it's landed on something. You walk over to where the ball is, and you can now see that it's pierced itself on the pointy hat of a garden gnome. And the gnome has a number 5 written on his hat in bold marker. So you know that the garden gnome is the 5th item on the list. Now you look down and you see that fastened to the gnome is a piece of rope. And because you're curious about this piece of rope, you follow the piece of rope along. And when you get to the end, it leads to an enormous playing card. And that card is the 7 of clubs. So now you know that the 7 indicates the 7th item on the list. So it's the 7 of clubs. And as you look at this card, you see that it turns into a door. You open the door to reveal a lion with a big bushy mane. See it there, imagine it. So the lion is the next item. The lion's startled when you open the door and it jumps into a river. And the river is a long flowing river. You see it winding down into the distance until it comes straight as an arrow. And that straight river goes straight through the center of a bullseye of an archery target, which is item number 10. So go through the list. First of all, we've got sand. So you could imagine yourself walking along that beach in the sand. And then what did you see as you walked along? What was the next item? That's right, you could see a beam of light. It's a torch, a flashlight that you've picked up. That's right. And you shine that flashlight. What reflects back? What can you see in the light of the flashlight? A bathtub, that's it. And as you get near the bathtub, what's inside the bathtub? A football. So you take the football and you kick that ball. And what does it land on? That's right, a gnome. And what number is written on that gnome? The number 5, it's the 5th object. And what's tied round the gnome? The 6th object is the rope. And you follow the rope along and you come to the 7th object. What was the number 7? It was the 7 of clubs, a big card. That's right. And it turns into a door. And when you open it, there's a lion and you startle the lion. Jumps into a river. So you remember the river as it flows down and it goes straight through the center of a bullseye of a archery target. So there you've got your 10 items. You see, this is much easier to remember. You know, the story method. This is what they call the story method. You know, it used to be used and may still be used and taught by some trainers and presenters and magicians. You know, I mean, if you've taken any memory courses before, you may be familiar with this method. And you may be thinking, well, I can learn this anyway, so why are you teaching me this? Well, you know, I'm easing you into things slowly. This is a basic technique. But what I believe is the most powerful method is the one from Dominic O'Brien, and we're going to come to that in a moment. So the story method does the work because, you know, we've marked the number 5, the 5th item. You could probably locate the 4th item by just moving back one space in the story. Or you could even, you know, give me the items in reverse order because you've learned them as a story. You could just play the story backwards and it wouldn't be difficult to give them backwards: the target, the river, the lion, the card, the rope, and so on. And this is stored quite easily in your memory because of you're using your imagination and you're linking everything together. You associate them all together, and they're all in their own location. So it's not a big stretch of their imagination to actually remember these now. So now I'm going to show you an easier method, you know, that was developed by Dominic O'Brien, the 8-time world memory champion. And he also holds a Guinness record for memorizing 54 packs of playing cards in sequence after only seeing each card once. How amazing is that? Right, the method that I'm going to show you is called the journey method. And it uses a mental journey to hold the location of whatever it is you want to remember in order, with every 5th position, you know, digitally marked. And it makes it easier to recall. For instance, the 25th item, or if you want the 27th item, then you could just go to the 25th item and then jump forward 2 places, and this will take you to the 27th. And it allows you to access the list a lot faster than if you just had to go through the whole journey to find what you wanted from the beginning to the 27th. The first thing we're going to do is create a journey with 10 stops in it. Now, this could be a journey around your house, your local park, or your neighborhood, anywhere that you can imagine. Now, for this exercise, let's make it a journey around your own home. You might want to start in the bedroom, as though you're just getting out of bed, and then, you know, you move on to the bathroom, and then work your way through the rest of the house, creating this journey. Now, make sure you go through in logical order. You wouldn't go from your bedroom to the garden to the kitchen and then to the bathroom. So we'll start from the bedroom, and you can use specific places in the bedroom. It could be the nightstand, it could be the bed, the chest of drawers, or even a wardrobe. But make sure you go around these items in a logical order, how you would if you walked around the room. And this gives you more options if you've only got a small apartment, or your house isn't that big, doesn't have many rooms. It gives you more locations to put things in to make the journey a lot longer. So what I'd like you to do is, for my next video, I want you to get a 10-step journey together around your home. Start from the bedroom and find 10 specific places around the house on a journey that you can walk through. You know the journey backwards and forwards, and you know each specific stop. And once you've got those 10 stops, then join me in my next video. And until then, have a great day. Keep being awesome.